he with the Hibernians?
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the February 20. What is it? What's today? March 1st? 28th. February 28th Hempstead Town Board meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? Here.
Let's see. We have Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Here.
Councilwoman Miller.
Here.
Councilman Muscarella.
Present. Thank you, Councilman. Now I'm going to ask Councilman Dunn to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All rise, face the American flag, place your right hand over your heart, and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Madam Clerk, would you please call the first public hearing?
Yes, I will. We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in East Meadow, Elmont, and near Valley Stream.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips on item number 1 on the public calendar. Anybody who did not sign in wishes to be heard on item number 1? If not, may I please have a motion?
Make a motion to close the public hearing and adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Yes. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Elmont and Inwood.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? Okay, I do not have any slips on item number 2. Anybody who did not sign in and wishes to be heard on item number 2? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding school speed limits in North Woodmere.
All right, any member of the board wish to be heard? Don't have any slips. Any member of the public that did not sign in and wishes to be heard on item number 3? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding gross weight restrictions in Woodmere.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? Don't have any slips on item number 4. Anybody who did not sign in wishes to be heard on item number 4? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in Baldwin, Elmont, Franklin Square, Inwood, Roosevelt, and West Hempstead.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips on item number 5. Any member of the public did not sign in that wishes to be heard on item number 5? If not, may I please have a motion?
Dorothy.
Oh, I move item number 5.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We will call 6A and 6 in tandem. We have a resolution adopting a CEQA negative declaration and determination of non-significance in connection with the proposed amendment of Article 34 of the Building Zone Ordinance in relation to flood hazard zones in the town of Hempstead. And number 6 is the proposed amendment of Article 34 of the Building Zone Ordinance of the town of Hempstead in relation to flood hazard zones in the town of Hempstead.
Okay, member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips on item number 6. Anybody want to be heard on item 6 or 6A? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt both items, 6A and 6.
Actually, let's have a separate vote for each.
Okay.
Okay. So
6A.
6A? Second on 6A?
Second, yeah.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, got another motion on 6, number 6? Councilwoman?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have, on the seventh item, it's a resolution to review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Bristol and Mexico Monument and a portion of surrounding property, also known as the Mariners Burial Ground, located within the Rockville Center Cemetery at 45 Merrick Road, Lynbrook, be designated a historical landmark.
Okay.
And before our town historian, Tom Saltzman, speaks, I just wanted to let the record reflect that I have given a packet of what historian Saltzman's going to be speaking about to each council member and the town attorney. And we also have several letters of support. I do want to note them for the record from the Consul General Helena Nolan of Ireland. We have Congressman Anthony D'Esposito. We have Mayor of Lynbrook, Alan Beach, Mayor of East Rockaway, Bruno Romano, and Village of Rockville Center, Fran Murray, and Jeff Greenfield of the NGL Realty Corporation. They've all submitted letters in support of the designation.
And that'll be part of the record, Madam Clerk?
Yes, they will.
Okay, I have a number of slips, and why don't we start off with Tom? Hey, Tom Saltzman. Tom, if you give your name and address and identify yourself, everybody appreciate it.
Tom Saltzman, 1 Copper Beach Place, Merrick. I am the historian in the town clerk's office and a member of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission. I just have a short prepared statement, and then I'd like to go through that booklet with you, if I may. In his 1841 volume entitled Tragedy of the Sea, Charles Elms describes the horror of the event of the Mexico shipwreck off Long Beach on January 3rd, 1837. As a result of that wreck and the earlier wreck of the Bristol, occurring just 44 days prior, a meeting of concerned citizens was called by the town's clergy to arrange for the decent interment of the bodies which were recovered. Among other things, a provision was made for the purchase of a suitable piece of ground to be appropriated exclusively to the interment of the bodies of those who should lose their lives by shipwreck on our shores. At that meeting, it was, quote, resolved that a committee of 12 be appointed to collect contributions for the purpose of purchasing a piece of ground to be forever reserved solely for the interment of bodies which shall hereafter be cast upon our beach, and also for the further purpose of erecting a suitable monument over the bodies now interred. On January 11th, 1837, 62 frozen bodies from Mexico were interred. Soon after, the bodies of 77 victims of the Bristol were also interred here for a total of 139 burials. In 1840, the monument we know today as the Bristol and Mexico Monument was erected near the south end of the burial plot. Chapter 118 of the 1840 laws of New York State provided for, again, quote, monies found upon the bodies of the deceased from the 2 shipwrecks be handed over to John Bedell, he was the chairman of that committee, for and toward the erection of said monument and of a suitable fence around a piece of ground in the town of Hempstead in the county aforesaid, purchased for and now known as the Mariners Burial Ground. The dimensions of that piece of ground, quote, to be known thenceforth as the Mariners Burial Ground, was described in an inscription on the monument itself. That inscription read, "The inhabitants of the county, impelled by a generous sensibility, have purchased 30 feet front and rear by 161 feet deep of this yard and set it apart as a Mariners Burial Ground." Various sources indicate that sometime after 1953, the one line of the dimensions by 161 feet deep was chiseled from the monument. We know this because a Harvard Law School student by the name of Ruth Bader wrote about the Mexico tragedy and the inscriptions on the monument in the autumn 1953 issue of the New York Folklore Quarterly. In her later marriage, she would go on to become Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Today, grave markers from recent burials have been shoehorned within inches of the monument. There is nothing left to indicate the location of the long burial trenches that hold the Bristol and Mexico's victims. Our great fear is if we fail to protect the small section of land where there are benches and didactic panels informing visitors of these tragic events, and where annual historic celebrations are held, we face an uncertain future where cemetery operators can bury people right up against the monument and erect whatever tombstones they wish. Both of these ships foundered extremely close to the shore, either in or just beyond the surf lines. 215 men, women, and children perished either by drowning or by freezing to death. These were immigrants, mostly from Ireland, looking to fulfill their dreams of a new life in America, tragically dying within sight of their dreams. We are hoping that at the end of public comment on this matter, that the members of this board, impelled by the same sensibility that the inhabitants of Hempstead possessed in 1837, will vote to protect not only the Bristol, Mexico monument, but also that small portion of land originally named the Mariners' Burial Ground, where today rests some 139 souls who died tragically on the way to this country. That's my little speech, and if you don't mind, just to go through the booklet, the first photograph presented is really just a lovely photograph of the monument itself. And if you could look closely at the base, you can see a sort of a white line. That's actually the chisel mark that I'll show you in a later photograph. The second photograph is taken and shows the benches and the didactic panels. And that photo is basically taken from and shows the area that we wish to landmark tonight. Photo number 3 shows the line that was chiseled, which says by 161 feet deep. And that's been recorded in so many volumes and written texts about this monument that there can be no doubt about what that says. Photo 4 is an aerial photograph taken in 1926, which shows, I don't know if you can see, the yellow outline is the Mariners' Burial Ground, and the little blue outline is the monument itself. If you look at that, and again, you have to look under a magnifying glass, you don't seem to see the same kind of burial features that you see in the rest of the cemetery off to the left. Going to photo 5, this is a map that was drawn by attorney Sanford Davison as part of his testimony in 1917. He was asked by the town board then to look into ownership of the cemetery property. He is describing in this map the different parcels that make up the cemetery at that time, and what's shown as the county plot in that map is the Mariners' Burial Ground, and there you have the memorial down in the southern part of it. The next photograph, and I have to give credit to Jack O'Brien of the Nassau County chapter of the Ancient Hibernians. He supplied this photograph, and this is an overlay of the previous map that was drawn by Ford Davison in 1917, placed over a recent photograph of the cemetery. And it's as clear as day that the burial plot, the county plot, and the memorial, again, are the Mariners' Burial Ground, or is the Mariners' Burial Ground. The last photograph is taken from a drone overlooking the monument. You can see the bit of open space that is to the south. The monument is, the shadow is basically pointing a little bit northwest. But to the south and west of the monument is still open space, with the exception of a few ground markers for graves that were placed there. Everything above or north of the monument we consider an incursion on the Mariners' burial ground, which was supposed to be there in perpetuity. So what we are trying to do today is protect what little bit of open land still remains, where ceremonies are held every year, where school children are brought to learn about the disasters for local history, and where we learn that the people of Hempstead went way beyond what had ever done before to give these people a decent burial. I thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. The last is a fold-out, and that's, I'm sorry, probably one of the most important parts. That is a survey of the property that we would like landmarked. You can see on the little expanded diagram, the little circular part to the right, that we have left out. We've gone right up to the monument itself, and we have not bothered asking for that section of property where there's a line of graves directly against the northern edge of the mound. There are a couple of ground stones, like I said, and again, it's the feeling of the Landmarks Commission that we would not act in any way to prevent any family members from being interred with their loved ones in those particular locations. That is my presentation.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for all your service. I do appreciate your tireless work, and I enjoy your keeping of the documents in the town of Hempstead during your tenure. You do a fantastic job. I don't, first off, does any member of the board have any questions? I do have a number of public residents who'd like to speak on it. When you come up, you just go to the back mic and give your name and address. We have Paul. Paul, you're here? Hey, Paul, how are you? Good to see you. Come on, if you go back there and identify yourself. You're no stranger to town hall.
My name is Paul Van Wy, V-A-N-W-I-E, and I reside at 227 Grange Street, Franklin Square. And I am serving as the chair of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission. Regarding the Mariners' Burial Ground, it's undoubtedly one of the most significant historical sites in the town of Hempstead. It exemplifies the town's history for many reasons. Among them, it is really an example of the essential goodness of the people of the town of Hempstead in providing for their fellow human beings a proper and decent burial. It was a charitable act that they did, and I think it really exemplifies the spirit of our town over the centuries. It is significant in the history of American immigration in that so many of the people who were drowned and were buried in that burial ground were on their way to a new life in the United States, a moment of great hope, yet a moment of great tragedy for these people. It is a living link with our past, and it is indeed a sacred site. And it also led, the tragedy also led to the eventual development of life-saving stations on the Long Island coast. So for many reasons, it is a historical site in the history of our country, and we must protect it for future generations. I would like to state that the Landmarks Commission unanimously endorsed this recommendation and feels it is one of the most significant sites to have come before our commission in the last several years. In closing, I would like to thank our town historian, Tom Saltzman, for his thorough research, for his enthusiasm, and for sharing his expertise with all of us in bringing this information in front of us this evening. He is a great resource, and we are privileged to have him serve on our Landmarks Commission. Thank you very much.
Doctor, thank you as always for your passion on preserving history. It's always nice to see you. Next, I have Carol McKenna from Carol. Carol, you go this way. Come on.
You could come.
You can come either in the back or the front.
Right up that aisle.
Good evening. Just give me a name and address for the record. And good to see you, Carol.
My name is Carol McKenna. I reside at 52 Virginia Street in Valley Stream, New York. And I would like to speak to the issue of Rockville Cemetery, please. I am speaking in my capacity as historian for the Incorporated Village of Valley Stream, a member and former president of the Valley Stream Historical Society, and member and former president of the Association of Public Historians of New York State. And I think those offices should give you an idea of how seriously I believe, excuse me, that our history, whether it is written, contained in a building, cemetery, or in this case, a monument, is to be preserved for generations to come. My other reason for being before this August group is personal. My father-in-law, mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law's sisters are buried in Rockville Cemetery. My father-in-law came from Belfast with his family in the 1920s and settled in New York. I think it should also be taken into consideration, and reiterating what Tom said earlier, that 139 of the 215 victims of the Bristol and Mexico shipwrecks are buried in a mass grave. Immigrants, mostly Catholic, who were seeking a better life, religious freedom, and the right to own land, which was denied them in Ireland, never got their chance. The monument stands as an idea of what individuals would do in difficult times and should be granted landmark status by the town of Hempstead. Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for the great work you do at the Valley Stream Historical Society. Always nice to see you, even though you didn't bring Ancona's pizza. Next now, it does not say you want to speak, Frank Torrey, but Frank, did you want to speak or no? Nope? Okay. Next I have Robert Simpson. Did you want to speak? No? Okay. Next, after that, I have Madeline Pearson. Yeah. Gotcha. Yep.
My name is Madeline Pearson. I live at 28 Grant Avenue in East Rockaway. I'm the Executive Director of the Historical Society of East Rockaway and Lynbrook. The Historical Society of East Rockaway and Lynbrook is seeking landmark status and preservation of the Bristol and Mexico Monument and the remaining open portions surrounding the Marriers Burial Ground, located in the Rockville Cemetery on Merrick Road in Lynbrook. In the winter of 1836 and 37, two ships, the Bristol and the Mexico, coming from England and carrying potential immigrants, mostly from Ireland, looking for new opportunities and a better life in America, ended up shipwrecked, with many of the passengers freezing to death or drowning just yards off of the coast. Days after the Bristol shipwreck, distinguished town of Hempstead residents raised funds for the purchase of a mariner's burial ground, so that these people could have a suitable burial. Residents of East Rockaway, Lynbrook, and Rockville Center came together to ensure coffins were made and a proper burial was provided. Later, the committee also resolved to erect a monument. They did this 4 years later using donations raised from the residents of the town of Hempstead and with money taken from the bodies of the victims. Research has proven that this land is owned by the town of Hempstead. For more than 20 years, there has been an annual memorial ceremony honoring the 139 people who perished on these two shipwrecks and are buried in the Rockville Cemetery. For the past 13 years, we as the Historical Society has provided a local history program for our local fourth graders including this story of the Bristol and the Mexico shipwrecks, the people who died, and what the residents of the town of Hempstead did for these victims. It has made an impact on each student, as the monument is the tallest monument seen when passing that cemetery. And every student that has passed this cemetery when they're traveling to and from McDonald's, which is right down the street. So they now know what is very important in that cemetery. Members of the Historical Society, members of the Irish organizations, and community residents and businesses have donated funds in recent years that have allowed us to purchase historical markers to share the story. We've added 2 granite benches and improved the landscaping so that people can better appreciate the significance of this monument when they see it and visit it. In 2015, the monument and entire cemetery was placed on the New York State and National Register of Historic Places. The monument and the burial ground surrounding it should now also get the recognition by the town of Hempstead as a landmark, and the benefits of preservation going forward so that it is maintained and preserved for future without the worry of destruction or of new people being buried within the specific surrounding monument. Many monuments are for famous people or events, but this monument is for those poor people and women and children who saw the United States but never reached it. Thank you very much.
Listen, first off, Madeline, that was a solid 3 minutes. Let me also, I just want to let you know, Paul's already working on having the McDonald's named a historical institution, as well as somebody from Valley Stream. I've been going there for like 50 years of my life. We all know it too well. Now, I see James is here, but James did not put down he wants to speak. You didn't want to speak? Okay. We have Christian Brown. Let's give you a name and address of the record. Thank you.
Good evening, Supervisor and members of the board. Christian Brown, McLaughlin and Stern, 1122 Franklin Avenue, Garden City. I represent the operator of the cemetery. We've been involved in this process from the beginning. We've learned a lot throughout the process. I think when this was first before the Landmarks Commission, maybe about a year ago or so, even at that point, the ownership of this land was in question. Nobody really, to my understanding, had been able to delineate exactly where the Mariners' burial ground was supposed to be laid out. And following that process, extensive research was done. The town hired an outside law firm to do some title work, and then Mr. Salzman did quite a bit of research. And I think now there's probably more information about this historical episode and the the way that it was handled in the cemetery than has ever been known before or was long forgotten. And I commend the commission on its work, and Mr. Salzman's research is illuminating. The reason I mention that is that at some point over the many decades since this event transpired, it is, I think we agree, there are family plots that are in or around the section of land that the commission wants to landmark. We have no problem. We don't object to the landmarking of the monument. And we really don't object at this point to the landmarking of the grounds. I raised this with the town attorney. The only caveat to what I'm saying is, to the extent that families have over the years acquired burial rights, we want to be able to respect those rights as well, and to engage in burials for those who own the plots now. We're not talking about new plots. We're just talking about families that own plots and have, would claim rights to bury in and around that area. Now, from what I understand from what Mr. Salzman said, they may be, the commission may be in agreement that a particular area be exempted or carved out of the landmarking designation. That would be fine if that accomplishes the goal that I'm stating, or if in the resolution that this board adopts, I mentioned to Mr. Macarone this afternoon, some kind of provision could be made to so as to not impede the ability of the cemetery to carry out, routine burials for people who do have property rights that have been given them over the many decades when I think, unfortunately, the exclusive nature of the burial ground had been forgotten or neglected. That's our only concern. Otherwise, we have no issue. We respect the history here. We just want to make sure that, the cemetery's operations aren't unduly impeded.
Oh, Madeline was so much better than you, Christian.
I was told I could get...
No, so we have to, Madeline knew the 3-minute rule. Why don't we stick around and we'll see what other residents have to say and before we render a decision.
But we have no objection on the historical nature. It's
Got it.
just that one concern that we have.
Got it.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Next, I see Alan Beach? No? I do want to recognize the mayor of Lynbrook is here. Thank you very much. And I think, is that Trustee Ryder next to you there? It's nice to see the both of you. Did either of you want to speak? Because I had it down. Okay. Okay. I have Aaron Scott. Okay. I have Eileen O'Brien, but she has a no written next to it. Is that correct? You don't want to speak? No? Okay. Pat McGivern? Nope. John Deely has a no. And James Henry has a no. And the last one I have listed here for speaking on item number 7 is Patricia Hickey. Yeah. If you just go back and give your name and address. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Patricia Hickey, 29 Earl Avenue in Lynbrook. And I am a volunteer for the Lynbrook East Rockaway Historic Society. And just to add to all the wonderful things that have been said about this monument, I figured I'd tell my own story. For 70 years, my family has resided in the Malvern, Lynbrook area. And growing up, I always thought of the Rockville Cemetery as a special place, but it was only when, as an adult, I became involved in volunteering for the Lynbrook East Rockaway Historic Society that I realized how special it is. As a volunteer for the Historic Society, I helped to tell 4th graders about the significance of the monument in the center of the cemetery and of the story of the Bristol and the Mexico. That story offers many teachable moments. It includes the story of immigrants boarding those ships in the hope of starting a new life in America and the hardship that they endured. It tells of harbor pilots at the New York port who were not at their assigned posts when both ships entered the harbor, and it underscores for our listeners the importance of honoring commitments. It holds the example of a courageous captain, Captain McGowan of the Bristol, who did everything that he could do to help save his passengers, and shows us an opposite character in Captain Winslow of the Mexico, who abandoned his passengers. But most importantly, this story has been an example to our students of the caring nature of our community, a community who came together to arrange for the burial of those that died in these shipwrecks. I ask that the board authorize the landmark of the monument and the burial site of the victims of the Bristol and Mexico as a way of continuing to show the caring nature of our community and our respect for the victims of these 2 tragic shipwrecks, as well as our respect for the history of our town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patricia. I don't have any other slips on item number 7. I know this gentleman, you would like to speak on item number 7. You come onto the mic and give your name and address. That'd be great.
I think you called my wife's name Eileen O'Brien.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, my name's John O'Brien. I live in Westbury, 43 Hidden Lane, Westbury, New York. I've been up here before. A lot has been said tonight about the rights of the current families being buried there, but I want to bring out that Hempstead owns a lot there. It's Hempstead's family plot. It's 161 feet long by at least 30 feet wide, and other people have been buried there. What about the rights of the people that Hempstead has put there? So I want people to consider that as well. Marking the monument as a landmark is very normal, but the monument is only a part of it, and it was put there 3 years after the fact. As Tom wonderfully brought out, the people of Hempstead did this because they knew it was the right thing to do. Although the current burials there on top of the others should have rights, it should be somehow referred through the town of Hempstead that they're using their land. This is in accordance with the Non-for-Profit Cemetery Act and should be discussed as well in the landmark process. I do want to thank the whole board, the town of Hempstead, the wonderful Landmark Commission has been a great help for the past years. We've actually been doing this, as if Art was here, he'd be telling you about 1990 and putting up the first sign there and bringing this story to light for everyone to know and learn from. But it is an important part of history, especially in Hempstead. The life-saving service did come from this, that later became Coast Guard. And the whole pilot system was changed over the year after, within a year after, and then it was again amended in, I think, 1841 or so, because all of a sudden they started having the New Jersey pilots bring in the ships, and New York Harbor pilots changed the way they were doing business at that point. But I thank everybody for their time. Keep in mind how long this problem has existed, how little help we got. I don't know how you lose 139 bodies in a cemetery, but I guess you really didn't look for them as far as the Rockville Cemetery operations have run. I've been to the Slave Cemetery in Manhattan, has an absolute wonderful record using a ground-penetrating radar of where everybody is. I thank all of you. I thank the Hibernians and the Lynbrook Historical Society, East Rockaway people, Frank Torres, Art, and Madeline especially. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. I don't have any other slips on item number 7. Does anybody else wish to be heard on item number 7? All right. Okay, just give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Meeta J. Meriday, Baldwin resident, Town of Hempstead. As a student of history, I was very interested about this particular process, and I do support the request for this item, because I do think history is important, and we do need to remember those who risked their life to try to come to this country. But some of us, our ancestors, did not have choices to be brought here, and the circumstances they were brought here. And the previous gentleman speaking about the African slave burial grounds, unfortunately, and being a part of that process, to say that when the federal government was trying to build a courthouse, and that was really when the discovery was made about that burial ground. So folks had to really kind of rally and do a lot of research and investigation and protest to claim those vital artifacts and lives that were lost, who were taken from their homeland. They were very prosperous where they were, and they were taken from their homeland. So I think that, again, knowing about the history of the immigrant status overall, I think is a collective scenario that we should all bridge gaps to become more aware. I think that would make us a little bit more receptive, more collaborative, and a lot nicer to each other if we could understand where everybody has as far as their starting points and how we can work together collectively. There's just so many things going on around us and near us that we really need to step up and speak up, but we need to do a little bit more reaching out and working together. As a matter of fact, my family history kind of ties to Scotland, no offense to those from Ireland. And I appreciate that. And I did have the opportunity to visit Ireland. It's a beautiful country. And like I said, I do support this, and hopefully all of the arrangements that everyone is working together and collectively, but let's just all work together, become more informed, more involved, and more engaged, more supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meriday. I don't have any other slips on item number 7. Is anybody who did not sign in that wishes to be heard on item number 7? Okay, then I'm going to thank Tom and everybody for coming out and speaking today and giving us the perspective. I'm going to ask now if I have a motion.
I move the public hearing be closed and the board designate the property and historic.
No, I think
You want to reserve this?
Yeah, I think that was what you were thinking about earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I move the public hearing and reserve decision.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin,
Aye.
Councilman Dunn,
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby,
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller,
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Just so any of the members who came to speak, their decision was reserved. I think the town will come to a decision in the next few calendars. We'll let you know immediately. There was one or two items that I think wanted to be checked on. Tom and the doctor, of course, we will keep you informed and let the residents know. And again, we appreciate all of you coming out and you know what, and your passion for the subject. And of course, we will let everybody know when we have the final vote on it. And it's good to see, and he didn't speak, and I don't know how you didn't, drag in somebody else from the Franklin Square Historical Society over there. I see him hiding over there. I see you back from Florida. It's good to see you, but I appreciate all of you coming in tonight, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you all very much. With that, Madam Clerk, can I now ask you to make a motion on the administrative calendar? Or call it, sorry, next item.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
on the administrative calendar, we have items 8 through 60, but we also have 2 items that are of an emergency or urgent nature. The first is entitled "A Resolution Adopting a Secret Negative Declaration and Determination of Non-Significance in Connection with an Application for Site Plan Approval for a Parcel of Land in Roosevelt." And the second is entitled "A Resolution Approving Overall Site Plan Submitted by Robert Philip Ferraro Architects on behalf of Philip LeConte in connection with building application 18-5627 for the construction of a 3-story charter school building with basement. It'll be called the Roosevelt Children's Academy, including associated site improvements located on the northern side of Pleasant Avenue and 223.63 feet west of Hempstead Babylon Turnpike in Roosevelt. Those 2 resolutions that I just read will be added to the calendar as items 61 and 62.
Mr. Supervisor, I would recommend that this board table item number 35.
I second the motion.
Okay, so I have a motion, well, I can have a motion to table item 5. Who's making the motion?
I make the motion.
Table number item 35?
Yes.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
All right.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on any other items in the administrative calendar? Okay, I have a couple of slips in here. We'll start off with Melissa Jaffe. If you go to the back and give your name and address at the back podium, thank you. Good evening, name and address, please. Thanks.
Melissa Jaffe, Merrick, New York. I'm opposing number 52. We want to know why you're moving Emily Durenz. She has placed over 10,300 dogs and cats since 2013, and that's 1,030 dogs a year. We want to know why you're doing that.
Mr. Supervisor, I would caution in responding at all to this inquiry or any inquiries like it. I have a feeling there'll be other people coming up for the very simple reason that there is a possibility of pending litigation. As the town attorney, I received a letter from an individual purporting to represent the employee in question, and as a result, because of the possibility of pending litigation, and this is
So
a
what happens
personal
to
matter.
be, you're guilty before you have a chance to even, Emily doesn't have a chance to fight this? She just gets moved?
Well, most respectfully, as I said to you.
I'm
this is-
sorry? I can't
Most
hear you.
respectfully, as I said to you, this is a matter that involves litigation, and as a result, it should not be discussed here.
So then this should be tabled until this matter is taken care of, until you have an answer, whether she's guilty or not. How do you vote on something where you have no idea if what the story is?
Respectfully, you've raised the word guilty. To be quite frank, I don't think, to my knowledge, she hasn't been charged with anything or anybody's accused
So then
her of anything.
how do you move somebody where you don't even know what the truth is?
Well, the personnel decisions as far as where people work and where they do not work is something that's decided by the administration and the people down at the animal
So the
shelter.
taxpayers pay the administration, so I don't really understand how that's working. So since I'm not going to get an answer like all the other times that I've been here and not get answers, and most of you up there just sit there doodling or thinking about what you ate for dinner, I'm not going to continue, but here is many, many, many letters from rescue organizations that are also opposing the situation of moving Emily. We don't really understand what's happening. We put people into positions like Mr. Malone, who basically walks around the shelter. We don't know what he's doing. Walked away from Ellen Fischillo when I wanted to introduce. By the way, she sends her regards to everybody tonight and wishes that she could be here, but she's celebrating her birthday. And for her birthday wish, she asked that everybody do the right thing. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Next I have Danielle Gazzardo. Oh, thank you very much. How you doing? If you give your name and address for the record, please.
Danielle Gazzardo, North Hempstead. I am here to speak about item number 52 on the administrative calendar, opposing the transfer of Emily Denzer. As a volunteer at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, I am here to speak about Emily, who for the last over 9 years has worked at the shelter under the civil service title of Community Research Assistant. With her experience of over 16 years of animal rescue, she has developed that title into her role as rescue coordinator. But these titles do not come close to encompassing all that she does. Emily has acquired and managed hundreds of relationships with rescue organizations, the same organizations that have assisted this town with pulling dogs who otherwise would have continued to sit in the kennel, using up taxpayer dollars. She is a one-woman social media machine who promotes the dogs working beyond clock in and out times, getting them noticed and out of the shelter, again, saving taxpayer dollars. She has even kept dogs in her office who need time outside of the kennels. I personally thank her for keeping a dog post-surgery who was in pain and in desperate need of a place to recuperate. Emily kept this dog in her office and walked her several times a day, each day, when most staff couldn't even get close to the dog. And yes, she spends every day with several dogs, walking and socializing them. As salaries are public information, I have seen Emily's, and for all that she does, and for so much more I have to mention, it's a joke. That is why it's bewildering that someone with this much dedication and passion to her role is being forced to transfer to the Conservation and Waterways Department. So why Emily? Why someone who makes peanuts in terms of a salary, who has an incredible skill set for animals, countless connections to rescues, and one of the hardest workers that I know is being moved out? Is it a coincidence that this follows Christy Fonte, another qualified and dedicated professional, merely a month ago being forced to resign solely due to a personal vendetta from one member of the public? This isn't about qualifications or improving the life of these animals or even saving taxpayer dollars. This is about you, Supervisor Clavin, catering to a malicious grudge by one member of the public. The same person who you stated to News 12 during your 2019 election debate was one of the top 5 campaigners for Laura Gillen. Now you're bending over every way possible to secure these campaign benefits for yourself in this year's election. You're attempting to remove a second dedicated, qualified individual from our animal shelter in a month. You're catering to the wrong single voice and not listening to the group that is sitting in front of you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, I'm going to call up Sandy Unger. Sandy Unger? Sandy Younger? Okay. All right. Do you don't want to speak? Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. How you doing? If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Sandy Unger, Levittown. Okay, I'm just going to read this. Not a great public speaker, but this is important. This is about Emily Tannen, Durenz, number 52 on your agenda. I've been a resident of Town of Hempstead for almost 20 years. For all those years and then some, I've been involved with rescue. I know Emily Tannen, Durenz, for about that long as well. We worked together with rescue operations when she was at the ACC and when she was involved with Adopt New York, a group dedicated to holding adoption events and advertising to help the rescues get the word out for their animals. I then continued to work with her at TOHS. In a nutshell, the shelter without Emily will be in dire straits. Not only does Emily get the info needed accurately with lightning speed, she also does not care what time of day or night it is. Her goal is to help these animals no matter what. She works tirelessly, hand in hand with the rescues to accomplish this. Emily is also TOHS's queen of social media: dog posts, cat posts, rabbit posts, Facebook, Instagram, and the list goes on. Emily is not scheduled, even when Emily is not scheduled to work, she will work anyway to help these animals get a home or go to rescue. I personally have texted her when she was not in the office, and she responds immediately and helps me to help these animals. Examples of Emily in action. Number one, I had a friend and adopter for a resident of TOHS, a 5-year-old bait dog, heavily scarred. When I called to say I was on my way there with the potential adopters, the person who answered the phone told me she was no longer available, they had an application. I knew that was not correct, so I called Emily to verify. She said she is most certainly available and the app was not a match. If I would have listened to the person on the phone, TOHS would have lost the adoption and the great dog would not have left the building that day. Number two, I needed a transport of a dog that was brought in from a fighting ring. This is personal to me as we pulled and I adopted one of those dogs from the same place. After our foster met the dog previously, she gave the go-ahead, so my rescue pulled the dog, but we had no way to get her to the foster's home. Emily personally drove that dog on a Saturday, day off, to my foster's house, and the rest was history. No one has more dedication and passion for these animals than Emily. Yes, she has a family and obligations that need her attention as well, but she will always have the time and the energy to help a TOHS animal leave the shelter. Can you say this about the majority of people you know? Probably not. It would be a major mistake to transfer Emily. We implore you, not only as rescue people, but as taxpayers and voters for the town of Hempstead. It matters. The animals matter. Emily matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Unger. Thank you. Karina Weiss. How you doing? If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Karina Weiss, Hicksville. I'm here because I too oppose to Resolution 52, the transfer of Emily. So last election, wait a second, I'm too short for this. Last election, I voted for you, Mr. Clavin. I thought my vote should go to a conservative family man, active in the community, and that owns a dog. We even happen to like the same peanut butter brand. Recently, I learned that I actually voted for the average politician who makes the more convenient decisions for specific citizens or for the government itself. By caving to one particular citizen's wish to control this town's animal shelter policies and its employees, you are enabling regression. She calls herself an animal advocate, and as fancy as that sounds, there is absolutely nothing to praise about this person, as you know. A tyrant and a citizen that instead of advocating for the animals by caring for them, providing them with comfort, or even fostering or adopting them, instead chooses to criticize over and over shelter staff and volunteers, also your taxpayers, and manipulates the town board, yes, you, all for the glory of calling it a reform victory on her social media outlets. As talented as she believes she is, she couldn't even run a small league rescue around the corner simply because she doesn't have the animal's best interest in her mind. Unfortunately, after losing an amazing trainer like Christy Funty, we are now on the verge of losing another skilled, experienced, compassionate, hardworking professional such as Emily Tannen. TOH has made incredible progress over the past few years with their work and tireless dedication. Tireless dedication. Currently, we walk backwards just to cater to one individual's demands who made lawsuits her way of living. I'm pleading before you because I rather believe the good in people. That's how I was brought up. If today was your last day alive, what would matter the most? To please one delusional person or to do the right thing by the people who are there for the animals on a daily basis? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weiss. Next, I have Francesca Serra. How you doing? If you give me an address for the record, thank you.
Hi, I'm Francesca Serra, and I live in Huntington, New York. Good evening, Supervisor Clavin and Town Board members. I'm here tonight to voice my opposition on the resolution to transfer Emily Tannen from the animal shelter to the Conservation and Waterways Department. Ms. Tannen is an invaluable employee of the shelter, and moving her to another department is not only retaliatory, it's incredibly foolish. Ms. Tannen has been a tireless advocate for the dogs and cats at TOHAS for almost 10 years. Not only is she responsible for successfully placing countless dogs with rescue organizations with whom she cultivated relationships, but she single-handedly built the shelter's social media from scratch. A strong social media presence is essential to attracting adopters and rescue organizations. Because of Ms. Tannen, the shelter has over 45,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook combined, posting nights, weekends, and holidays. This mom of three's work doesn't end after she clocks out. The pro that she is, she knows it's crucial to post constantly in order to keep followers engaged. Additionally, she's responsible for the kennel cards, pet tango profiles, and bios for all dogs and cats, the boards in the hallways, the slideshow in the lobby. That's all Emily. We all know this move is punitive in nature and isn't at all based on job performance. If it was, Emily would have been given a long overdue raise and a promotion. But because Hempstead is so dysfunctional, she's being penalized for ending up on some pretend animal advocate's hit list. You already drove out Christy Fonte, the shelter's beloved and talented trainer. How many more people are you willing to sacrifice in order to feed the beast? I guarantee it will never be enough. They will always want more. As a volunteer who cares deeply about the TOHAS animals, I am begging you to reconsider this decision and keep Ms. Tannen at the shelter where she belongs. Your vote tonight will speak volumes, and your constituents are listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Marcia Berrios. No? Okay. Next, I have Sandy. Yeah, no, yep. That's nice. Phyllis Federecki. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Phyllis Federecki. Sir, please, sir, you don't have to yell out. That's very nice of you, but we don't like that. No, you're not. Ms. Federecki, if you could just give your name and address for the record, thank you.
My name is Phyllis Federici,
Okay.
and I live in the town of Hempstead.
How you doing?
I am here tonight to talk about Emily. Emily Durenz, what do you say about her? She's tough. She knows her stuff. She handles the dogs. She's got a heart of gold, and she's got tons of connections in the rescue area. You lose Emily, you lose everything. What we need to do is to get this board to understand that listening to one, I'm going to use this word everybody else is using, delusional individual, you are losing so many good people at the town of Hempstead, especially at the shelter. You've already lost Christy Fonte by making bad decisions. Now you're going to lose Emily, and you already lost Mike Pistori. Everybody forgets about Mike. He was also a big part at the shelter. This person has a hit list, and now you're 3 down. And she says that that's arrivederci times 3 so far. That was what was written on her Facebook post. Is that a nice thing to say about people losing their jobs, losing their livelihood? And you know who's responsible for it? All of you sitting behind that desk. You are responsible. So we are here to ask you to table this, do the right thing, and listen to people who really have their heart and soul in the shelter, and not people who just walk around taking pictures and saying all the negative things about the shelter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Jill Cohen. Good evening. Give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Jill Cohen from Belmore. I'm actually reading a letter on behalf of Ashley Georgia from Washington State. She has a rescue, the Pity Project, that is very close with, has close connections with Emily. So this is a letter that I'm going to read. To whom it may concern, it has been brought to our attention that a key member of the team of Town and Hempstead Animal Shelter, Emily Dorenzi, is being put in a position to no longer work at the shelter. To say that this would be a detrimental mistake on your behalf would be an understatement. We are already informed that you have pushed out the trainer from the shelter. This is beyond concerning, considering training is a crucial part of evaluating these dogs and ensuring that they are placed in appropriate situations. It now seems you are doing the same thing to Miss Dorenzi. Building relationships with adopters and rescue groups is extremely important in fields, and removing the team from everyone has been working, including us, for this reason in the past few years is very unsettling. We have flown over now twice and driven dogs back to Washington State to join our program. These trips have included rescue-only pups such as King, Leo, Socrates, Baby, and Thor. We were also able to welcome Bart and Ox into our program, who are thriving in forever homes. Ox has actually just passed all of his tests and is officially a certified service dog trainer for PTSD. The only reason we have been willing to do this is because of the trusted relationships we have developed with this team, Emily being the lead. We have had nothing but incredible experiences with the staff, volunteers, and dogs, and we have met from TOHAS. We even ended up adopting Socrates as our personal pet, and has been the best addition to our family. This was only possible because of Emily. Her and Christy worked so hard with these dogs. Their ability to properly evaluate the dogs is what has set everyone up for success. Emily told us everything we needed to know about Socrates and his friends, which in turn allowed us to continue their training and ultimately to their success in the home. We have plans to come back again this year to welcome more dogs into our program, but we need the team there that we know and trust. Emily's dedication is the only thing that allows rescue groups, especially ones from out of state, to welcome dogs from our shelter into their program. To lose her at your shelter would result in losing the relationships and devastating to the animals in your shelter. And I have to say, the 3 volunteers, me, Melissa, and Leslie, went to go visit her program this past September, and I can't even tell you how amazing it is and how wonderful and what great lives these dogs have, and it'd be a shame to lose this group, this rescue group, and any other ones.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. Next, I have Christine Morano. Yeah, thank you. How you doing? If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Christy Morano, but you probably know me as Christy Fanti. I'm your former trainer at the shelter. I've worked with Emily for 6 years at TOHS. You'll be really hard-pressed to find somebody at TOHS who is as fiercely dedicated as she is to the animals. She's also next in line to be removed from the shelter, as we predicted. Everyone knows the 4 people Diane Madden has attacked the most. Mike Pistori was first. I was, of course, a close second. Emily is third, and I already heard the town has hired a new vet, Dr. Siegel being number 4. These 4 people have one important thing in common. They have a long, dedicated career in the field, and TOHS is not their first rodeo. Decades of experience, care, continuing education, accolades, and knowledge. The fact of the matter is you're systemically removing anyone who would stand in the way and point out how badly you are now sinking the ship. There is not a sudden need in conservation and waterways. No one has left, and certainly in the dead of winter, one can assume there's less work there than usual. For years, we have all dealt with these false narratives, bullying, intimidation, and lies from a very small yet vile group of self-proclaimed advocates. The difference between then and now is you had professionals still doing excellent work. Now you have actual advocates' attention who are perplexed as to why you are actively ruining the chances for the animals to make it safely into a home with each choice you're making, and one by one, you're removing these experts. That's it.
Thank you. Next, I have Eileen Osmers. Good evening. If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Yes, Eileen Osmers, Huntington Station. I'm founder and director of Golden Paw Society, a cat rescue on Long Island, and working closely with Emily Dorenz over the past 10 years, we've rescued over 2,000 cats from the town of Hempstead alone, mostly adult or senior cats, FIV cats, cats less likely to be adopted. I'm here to state that I'm vehemently opposed to the transfer of Emily Dorenz from her position of rescue coordinator at the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. Although I stand here alone, I've been given permission to state that this transfer is considered to be a shocking, inexcusable mistake that would not only be done completely against Emily's will, but against the wills of each of the following people from the following rescues. I have a list here. I wanted to read it, but the list has grown throughout the day, so I'm going to submit these names as 37 names of individuals and rescues. We all stand here together. Collectively, and in collaboration with Emily Dorenz, we've rescued thousands of animals from the town of Hempstead, and in large part because of who Emily is and the relationship she's fostered with each one of us over the past 10 years. It is because of Emily's compassionate advocacy for these animals that we've been able to be there for the animals who've needed us the most. Emily is 100% devoted to the animals in the shelter and committed to not only making sure they receive proper care and attention while there, but that they each find a most suitable placement. Emily truly knows the animals and reaches out whenever she comes across one she knows needs the extra care that we as a rescue can provide. Even after we rescue a cat from the shelter, Emily's available at all hours to answer any questions or concerns about the cats. Emily cares deeply about the animals who enter the shelter and those who leave. And this is the kind of person the animals need working on their behalf. This is not a 9-to-5 job. This is a critically important, hands-on, frontline position, and Emily lives it to the fullest. It is unimaginable to consider having her talent wasted by removing her to a random clerical position. It simply makes no sense. Which brings us to the elephant in the room. Not sure if the elephant is here. In addition to running a rescue, I'm a full-time teacher on Long Island, and one of the most important lessons we teach our students is that if you see something, you say something. Every single person in this room, and anyone even not in this room who's watching or listening, knows that there's one bully who's making life miserable for others and who's behind this sudden and radical transfer. And there's no way that we can all stand here or sit there and do nothing when someone good is being mistreated. We have to do something.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, I have Angelo.
Have a question I'd like to ask.
We have a 3-minute rule. Thank you. Next, I have Angelo Morano. Angelo Morano? Okay. Marissa McGivey? How you doing? If you give me name and address for the record, thank you.
My name is Marissa. I'm a Lynbrook resident. Did you guys all know it's biologically impossible to multitask when people are speaking? With all due respect, I can't help but wonder why we are here. It's kind of like how this county and island has flipped parties because they are sick of politicians that make decisions on behalf of, not on behalf of citizens, but behalf of your donors. I've worked in law firms for over a decade, and I find that the only way anything in animal welfare will be changed is by attacking it legislatively. I know firsthand how all the elections, the donors, the under-the-table deals, how each party bargains with the other so each others get in. I know all of the secrets, especially of some of you as well. I have been doing animal rescue my whole life, and as a kid, I would volunteer at the shelter. I started then getting into it as an adult, assisting in different hurricanes and the local shelter like the town of Hempstead. I found that dealing with the people was one of the biggest struggles in rescue. It's not the type of job, I can tell you firsthand, that you just fill with anyone. I had to take a break for years because I couldn't handle the people anymore. With that being said, the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter has been something that's been important. However, when I recently started networking the animals at the shelter on social media, I was facilitating rescues and I had to work with Emily. From the first interaction, I was blown away with how different Emily was from anyone I've worked with in rescue, and I've worked with thousands. She is one of those rare people that is not driven by ego and truly just wants what's best for the animals. She is the one with the outside contacts to the rescues. Why would you remove a highly qualified, underpaid employee and put her in a position for water conservation? Stop and think about that for a second. You have all these people here passionate about a woman that's positively reflecting your town, and you want to remove her based on politics? Why else would this be happening? It just doesn't make any sense. So you guys can all sit there and fidget and not pay attention and go ahead, but I can promise you, if you thought you had a thorn in your side with one person, you don't want my thorn in your side. For some reason, the supervisor does anything and everything someone wants that doesn't want to help the animals. She is not a shelter employee, nor is she a town of Hempstead shelter. She causes nothing but drama and problems at the shelter for reasons that are unknown. If this transfer goes through, I will have no choice but to launch investigations into all your donors to find out why this is happening. There's no other logical explanation why you would do this. So if I have to do that, it's not a threat. I just want to know what's good for the town. I want to save my fellow taxpayer monies. So again, I personally find myself here wondering why you'd be doing this, why you would take someone out that cares so much about the animals. And I promise you, the rescue community is not people that you want to upset. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next, I have Mira Meriday. How you doing? Name and address for the record. Thanks.
It's fine. Don't feel bad. He doesn't look at any of us either, so it's okay. Mita J. Meriday. At this point, I definitely concur that you need to review 52 for all of the... But sadly, in the midst of this being the last day of Black History Month, even though every day is Black History and the diverse history of all those who have been a part of this American journey, unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Considering if anybody's been a part of the redistricting process, and yes, before anybody looks up to decide that I need to speak about the admin calendar, all of this ties into the redistricting the sham that was redistricting. The definition of treachery is betrayal by someone that you no longer trust. So, as I stand before a group that I can no longer trust, but unfortunately you administer my tax dollars, I have again issues with regard to some of the decisions that are being made. So, back to the agenda while I'm still within my paltry 3 minutes. Items 10, 18, 19, 24, and 42. I'd like somebody to answer the question with regard to if these contracts are going to be given to anyone that maybe looks like me, the same gender as me, or possibly a service-disabled veteran. And I'm at 1:36. Appreciate the clock being stopped while I get that answer.
Ms. Lombardi, if you'd identify yourself, thank you.
I'm sorry, you're speaking too fast. You're not looking me in the eye, because I was always taught people look folks in the eye if you're addressing them.
That's okay, Ms. Narade. Okay.
Good evening, Town Board. Dominic Longobardi, Deputy Town Controller. All of these contracts have been bid out within New York State law and New York State as well as town policy. In regard to your question, I would have to go back and look to see if anybody fits the descriptions you're talking about. However, they have been, and we hope tonight will be awarded in accordance with the law that we follow, which is, again, New York State law as well as our policies here in the town of Hempstead.
Okay, well, I'd appreciate that list because, unfortunately, again, when we talk about following New York State law, the New York State Home Rule, neither was the John Lewis New York State Voting Rights Bill or the 14th or 15th Amendment followed with the segregated maps that have now divided many districts and communities in the township of Hempstead, or I should now say the segregated township of Hempstead. Number 40. With regard to this rebate, how much is it and where is it going as far as the communities that will be positively impacted?
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board. Ma'am, it doesn't impact any communities. Simply, we entered into new lease with our golf carts, and at the time of doing it, there was a rebate offered to supplement the payment, and this is just us ratifying it, later on after. But we already received the new golf carts, and it has nothing to do with any communities, basically.
So this is just what? A service project kind of rebate? There's no actual cash outlay that's coming back to the town?
No, it's to supplement the overall cost and their electric golf carts. So it was offered at the time that we went to renew our lease with our golf carts, and this is the rebate coming back to us.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 8, in Baldwin, where's the house? And while he's coming up again, I can only hope that there is some kind of justice for this, the closeout of this month, and that you will reconsider, since you have the town attorney speak with regard to item 52, that we're looking at a lawsuit. There's just so many lawsuits that the taxpayers cannot afford to pay. Clearly, it speaks for itself that you need to kind of address that. But you don't mind spending our money, so that's clear. Now I just encourage people to register to vote and vote people out.
Commissioner, if you identify yourself, thanks.
Fred Jowitz, the Department of Buildings, Town of Hempstead. That is on Grand Avenue in Baldwin. All of these particular resolutions are for board-ups for eminent danger, structural safety, and protection of the community.
Okay, and I can get that address from you just so I can share it with the Baldwin residents?
I'll be happy to go back and give it to you.
I appreciate that. Last item is number 15 with regard to the portable toilets and the rentals. Were any of these toilets going to be utilized in Henry Street Park in Roosevelt? Because I know there were some residents there that were looking for some type of, toilet, possibly portable. since, you know, so many other parks have many other amenities that unfortunately
Ms.
communities
Maraday,
of color seem to be
Miss
without.
Maraday, we
Yes,
do this
Mrs. Goosby.
every year. We always get the parties for the children, every year, since I've been here.
So
And
they're finally getting a toilet at Henry Street.
I didn't say a toilet. They're getting what they're getting.
Can they get like maybe a real toilet?
We have 2 big tanks, water tanks under there.
Wow.
Okay, do you want us to put the
2023 to get
toilet so
water
it goes
tank.
into the water?
Appreciate it.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Maraday.
I didn't get the answer to my last one that I put on before my time was up.
Dominic?
Ms. Maraday, this is a town-wide contract that's used in various locations all across the town whenever the town needs portable toilets, whether it be for events or for various other reasons, but that's what it's for.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Table 52.
Next I have Felix Procacci.
Felix
How you doing?
Procacci.
Name and address, thanks.
Items number 13 and 41, the associated records that references are not provided. So I ask, once again, I don't think you've been providing the other stuff I asked for. I'd like you to publish it on the website like you do, you're required to by law. Okay. On item number 43, you're hiring a dog training company, but the hourly rate is not provided, nor is the agreement provided. So once again, can you provide those 3 documents so I don't have to foil them?
Okay.
You know.
John?
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll address that tomorrow, Mr.
Okay, thank you. On item number 60, I object to the calling of this public hearing because this moratorium serves no legitimate purpose. According to the text of this legislation, the moratorium was enacted after numerous verbal conversations. Apparently no formal studies were done. The town put this moratorium in place 5 months ago because a lot of people protested the new zoning approved 3 years earlier. The spending of another $400,000 plus on engineering studies to take a hard look at approval procedures will not change the residents' opposition to this. This town used a similar reason back in 2016 when the town board enacted a moratorium for the Woodmere Club property. After a 2-year moratorium, the Supreme Court ruled the town's moratorium illegal, and the town rezoned the property, allowing the average of 2 housing units per acre. What the town board should do to save taxpayer money is let the moratorium expire and write an urgent resolution right now calling for a hearing to rescind the zoning areas covered by this moratorium and start all over again. I've been coming here 12 and a half years, who's counting. I've never seen a group of people come and protest one individual so much. And you haven't looked in their eye. You don't look in my eye when I'm talking either. But they took their time out of their day to come here. And I don't see a lot of people coming down for a lot of things here, but they did come down, and you should take what they're saying very seriously. And unless every one of you absolutely knows that this needs to be done, personally, I would recommend that you do table that item. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. McCatchy. All right, I don't have any other slips on the administrative calendar. Is anybody who did not sign in and has been heard wishes to on the administrative calendar? If you just come to the back and give your name and address, thank you.
Marcia DiTieri, Merrick, New York. I wasn't aware that Emily was being transferred. I'm a short-time volunteer at the animal shelter, and I do see some good changes. I do like Ashley. She's there full-time. That's a big thing. But as far as Emily, I've met her a few times. She gave me her cell number. I have her contact. I do photography. She asked for any photos that would help get these animals adopted. And in my heart, it's all about the animals. And if you take someone out of there with so many animals that need homes, there's more dogs since people are being evicted after COVID. Now they're being evicted and all their animals are at the shelter. So there's more dogs there that have been there for a very long time. And if she's there to advocate and get them either into a rescue or a home, please do not transfer her. It should be all about the animals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DiTieri. Okay. Ooh. All right, can I have a motion on the administrative calendar?
I move that we adopt the administrative calendar in its entity, less item 35 that was tabled earlier.
Get a second?
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
I am abstaining from item 43.
And Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, that ends the formal portion of the meeting. We'll now stay around to hear residents for the public comment. We will start with,
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
oh, I'm sorry, get a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Aye. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to now call for the public section. We'll listen to residents. We're next going to stick around for Dorothea Costabile. Dorothea Costabile? Okay. Oop. Frank Costabile? Okay. Marcia Barrios? Go to the back. We'll have somebody come back there and grab it for you. No problem. Go back to the mic there. Ms. Trinkle, if you could go back there and grab it for me, that'd be great. Thank you. How you doing? Just give your name and address for the record.
Marcia Barrios, 9 Forge Lane, Levittown, a resident for over 50 years, and one of prior supervisor Kate Murray's original 5 animal shelter volunteers. Thank you, Kate Murray, for all you did for the shelter in your day and for getting us out of the dark ages. There's something we all could agree on, and that's artificial turf. The town's been using it more and more, and I get very excited when I hear about artificial turf. Do you know where we really, really, really need some? In the dog shelter play yards. I've come here before pleading for artificial turf. I describe the play yard surface in 4 seasons. Spring, about 3 inches of large, unscreened wood chips are dumped over the mud and puddles. They're hard on the dog's paws. They're a health hazard. They harbor disease. And they even attract unwanted critters such as rats and snakes. Seriously. So, but they do cover the mud temporarily. Then they quickly deteriorate. By summer, the surface is back to mud. Dogs, kiddie pools, toys, staff and shelter volunteers, leashes are covered with mud again. It only gets worse in the winter. Large puddles develop where high traffic areas form, and by then the yard can only be described as sewage. And the cycle begins again. The board listened patiently. They even nodded their heads, but the chips kept coming. Finally, in 2018, a small group of volunteers got together and developed a proposal to submit to the board. We contacted suppliers who specialize in artificial turf for dogs. We found some that were eager to help us. We met with the shelter director to make sure it was okay with him to proceed, and to our delight and surprise, he had already contacted the same suppliers, and he had it included in his budget for that year. He appreciated what we did, and he said we should submit our proposal. It couldn't hurt. And what happened after that? Nothing. Tonight, Supervisor Clavin, I am going to give you a copy of I wanted to give it to you before, the 2019 volunteer proposal and extra photos for the board's review. Please make this part of tonight's record. This is a different board. These are different times. We're hoping for a different outcome. We're hoping we have seen the last of the wood chips in the dogs' play yards. Thank you.
While you're there, I'm going to actually ask that we follow up with you, because just by coincidence, we just got a grant to actually have, yeah, it's funny you said that. I just had it brought over there. So I'm just going to get your contact information, but we got a grant to have that done over there. So we'll follow up with you, okay?
Oh, the last of the chips? Thank you so much.
Listen, what can I tell you? I get it. Don't worry.
I'm going to give you the proposal anyway.
I'll take it. Thank you very much. Danielle Gazzardo? Good evening. Name and address for the record. Thanks.
I am here again to speak about the recent staff changes at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. First is Christy Fonte, the former trainer who was forced to resign last month. Since Christy's forced departure, there has been an influx of bite incidences to both staff and volunteers as a result of dogs not being properly evaluated. Case in point, Lily here bit a staff member a week after this photo was taken. Councilwoman Miller, you might recognize this photo. Considering the turmoil and the uncertainty of these evaluated dogs, the board might want to hold off on using them for your future photo ops. I submit this photo to Ms. Miller. Now more taxpayer dollars are being wasted as a temporary trainer is costing the town more money than it did to employ Christy Fonte. This decision is wasting money while staff, volunteers, and animals suffer. It's apparent that these decisions are not being based on saving taxpayer money. Are you moving people out based on their qualifications? Emily was told the reason she was being transferred is because the Conservation and Waterways Department was in need of a good clerical worker. Right. Given her immense experience in animal rescue, is Emily really the best person for the Water Department? If they're looking for a good clerical worker, a recent FOIL showed that Supervisor Clavin's longtime buddy, Charlie Malone, is currently a clerical aide at the animal shelter, making $50 an hour. Wow, $50 an hour to a clerical aide. Maybe he would be more suited to the Conservation and Waterways Department with his special clerical abilities. Or Charlie's wife, who's getting $136,000 a year as an administrative assistant in Supervisor Clavin's office. It pays to be your friend, Supervisor Clavin. It pays really well. This board needs to reconsider the decisions that they're making. Instead of pushing out qualified individuals and giving patronage jobs to their friends and executive leaders of their political clubs, let's make decisions for the animals and the hardworking staff who make a difference in these animals' lives. Supervisor Clavin, you think you could pull your head out of the sand for a minute? Yeah, not quite. I'm done.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Next, I have Aaron Scott. Aaron Scott? Okay. Christy Morano? Hi, name and address for the record. Thank you.
Christy Morano, Rockville Center. You guys know me as Christy Fanti. I'm your former trainer at the animal shelter. I can't possibly condense 6 years into 3 minutes. However, I'd like to correct the record, and in doing so, ask some questions. Why did you choose to bring in Charlie Malone as a liaison to the shelter when he ended his time at TOHS in 2010 being escorted out and investigated by the DA's office? Why did Charlie Malone tell us on his first day at the shelter that the agreement was he would deal with Diane Madden so she would not complain at these town board meetings? Why was Diane Madden given special access to employee-only areas despite how uncomfortable it made the majority of staff? I sent an email back in May where I expressed my concerns, sought answers, as well as reminded them of my lawsuit against Diane Madden. Just as an update on that lawsuit, this week, they dropped all of her counterclaims. They were all dismissed. Mine are still standing. Why did Charlie Malone tell a staff member that Clavin will never give me full time because of that lawsuit? Why did a trainer who previously worked at the shelter need a full walkthrough that included my office when she had not even put an application in? Why did Charlie Malone tell staff it was a conflict of interest for me, the head of the behavior department, to be involved in that walkthrough? But why was Diane Madden invited to that walkthrough when she's not an employee, has no experience in animal behavior according to the court records from the multiple times she's sued the town? Why was I told through text by the acting director, Ashley Behrens, that Don Clavin himself gave Charlie Malone the okay to bring Diane Madden into my office? Why did the kennel supervisors not step in and tell me their hands were tied, even when I had to end my volunteer class early because I was crying due to the stress? Why did Diane Madden, Charlie Malone, and this trainer wait 90 minutes to walk into my office for 30 seconds? Why was I denied the ability to say what happened, as well as my request that the matter be looked into afterwards? Why did Charlie Malone tell the volunteers during a meeting he had with them following my resignation that I was offered a full-time position at Town Hall? Why is Charlie Malone now telling people I quit prematurely? Premature to what? More harassment? Why is it okay with you that I be targeted and intimidated by Diane Madden? And why are you now assisting that? What breaks my heart is that all these decisions should have been about what's best for the animals, and they are nowhere to be found in any of this. What is your plan now for rescue that you pushed Emily out? The acting director's here. Why don't you ask her, Ashley, what are we going to do now? Because the animals have nowhere to go now, and no one to accurately train them. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. I have Mita Meriday. Ms. Meriday?
Okay, here's an interesting question that I need to ask. Because until tonight, I didn't really even have an idea who was being talked about, but since the name has been put out there, my question is, why isn't that person here tonight? And if all that they're saying is untrue, oh, you're looking at me, that's such a surprise. Supervisor Clavin, why aren't you defending what is taking place, aside from what the town attorney said that you can't say, but there's so many lawsuits that we already lose in the town. What's one more? Why aren't you saying something about what is happening at the shelter, which has long been a bone of contention for many of these outstanding ladies and gentlemen who do the effort there? I mean, I've been at the shelter, in defense of some of the staff a couple of years ago, and I can't personally go in the shelter because, as I said to, my colleague in the community, because, we're the ones, you've never said to us, thank you, Ms. Meriday, for the work that you do in the community for our veterans. You never said anything to Pearl Jacobs for the work that she does in her community, but you mentioned it to some of the other residents who left earlier. It's telling. And election time is coming up, but yeah, I'm going to put that question out there because I'm always about hearing all sides of the story, but it's too much is being said that there has to be some truth in it, and get to the facts, get to the truth, and don't put somebody on, come on, conservation and waterways, what is that? Skimming the pond or something? Let's be real. Let's put talent where it belongs. And speaking of which, now that you have divided Baldwin in half, a 2.5-mile hamlet, or I call it just basically half of a ham sandwich, you split us in half. So we have one representative, and the second one, we have nobody. So we have what? What do we have? There's a special election going on at least for the 19th district for the county. So at least they will have some representation. Is it because you have to review the resume? Because there were names that were being bandied about. I don't want to put somebody out there. But again, if we're going by the donor, patronage, nepotism, cronyism list, maybe you haven't decided that usually I'll just stick somebody up there and we just have to deal with it, and then you put them on the campaign promotional, even though they've done nothing, but then they get voted in because they're the face, along with your face, on everything across the town. So who's going to be representing us on the second half of Baldwin? And maybe, hopefully this time, you won't use the George Santos rule to designate who that person is. Maybe you'll get somebody with some true credentials and not a crony or a donor. Thank you.
Merida. Next, I have Marcia DiTieri.
Marcia DiTieri, Merrick, New York. Very upsetting about Emily. I'm a little distraught about that, but on another note, tree preservation, I was promised that there would be a calling for tree preservation for February. I looked on the calendar. There's nothing. I spoke with Commissioner Jowitz. He said it was out of his jurisdiction. I spoke with the secretary at the town attorney's office. I left 4 messages for Tricia Moriartis. I never received a call. I don't know what's going on. I was promised something would be done. Nothing. Tree preservation. I looked down the street at that monster house, every tree removed. And you know, living in the town of Hempstead, it's only getting worse. It's never getting better unless the town does something about laws, tree preservation laws. Can you tell me what happened?
Ms. Merida, I'll follow up. I know Councilman Carini, who couldn't be here today, had a loss of a close friend. He and I were in discussion over it. We'll follow up with you when it's going to be ready.
She said February.
I know. Councilman had a couple of concerns.
Okay. And if I do speak with the secretary at the town attorneys, could you give me the consideration of a callback? I mean, that would be nice. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. DiTieri. Thank you very much. Marissa McGivey?
You know what? I'm not even going to read.
Please give me name and address for the record. Thanks.
I'm a resident of the town of Hempstead. Besides the gentleman next to the supervisor who's actually been making eye contact, what do you guys, like, I'm just confused, and I mean this with all due respect, what are you guys exactly doing? Like, you just heard how many people speak on behalf of someone, and you just said, okay, whatever, let me transfer her. I'm truly, like, do you not think that we can't go after, like, the people that matter to you the most? You think we can't, like, and I don't mean that in a way, like, who else would you be benefiting besides your donors and your friends that help you get elected? Because you just heard people talk about someone and you just unanimous, just all of you, like it's nothing. I'm just so confused. Like, what is your job? I'm confused. Can anyone answer me? What is the reason why she's being transferred?
Ms. McGivey, this is the public comment. We're here to listen to your comments.
No, but again, are we human beings, or are once again you just the politicians and we're like your little servants? Because I'm not a sheep. And if you think we can't come down here every day with news and again, contact your political donors who are animal lovers, most of them, that you guys don't care. You do not care. You just heard how many people speak on behalf of someone and you just blindly all raised your hand to transfer her. I just truly don't understand it. The only thing I can think of is, again, campaign donations, under the table deals, because why would you want to waste taxpayer dollars and move someone to water conservation? You just heard how many people speak on behalf of someone and you still do not care. You can't look at anyone except, like I said, the gentleman in the middle. You just sit there and don't care. This is what people are sick of. Do you not get it? You guys are not like as powerful as you think you are. You could be replaced in an instant. Like, you guys are not that important because you don't care about your citizens. It's so weird. You guys literally, I can't just believe you just blindly all just said, I didn't listen to the 50 people that spoke and I'm just going to do and move this girl to waterways. Do any of you have pets? Do any of you have any idea how much goes into animal rescue? How it just takes over your entire life? Or are you guys just artists doodling on the page, working on your next Picasso? That's more important than listening to people that care about animals. He doesn't care. He hasn't looked up once. He's hearing us, but he can't make eye contact with us because he knows what he did was just wrong. So again, I can't help but now have to go and launch investigations into all your donors and who's having your decisions being made, because that's obviously the only thing you care about. You don't care about qualified people helping the citizens and the taxpayers in this county. You just care about the power and the money. So good luck with that.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have any other slips on the personal. Mr. Ricacci? How you doing? Name and address for the record.
Village Procacci. Today, this town board, by its vote on calling a hearing to consider extending the moratorium of the Inwood Lawrence building zones, took the first step in defeating what Don Clavin would call Bruce Blakeman's urbanization plan if Bruce was a Democrat. For those who don't know, it was Bruce Blakeman that spearheaded the new building zones in Lawrence and Inwood. Blakeman's goal for creating these building zones is identical to that of the governor's housing plan, yet Clavin never referred to it as Blakeman's urbanization plan. At the May 7, 2019 hearing, when these new zones were created, many speakers thanked then Councilman Blakeman for creating these new building zones. The issue regarding school districts was addressed, and 2 fire chiefs at the hearing publicly said they supported the new building zones. Chief McHugh from Cedarhurst said, "My organization fully supports this." And Chief Curcio from the Inwood Fire Department thanked Bruce Blakeman for involving us in planning this project. Kevin McAndrew from Cameron Engineering said, "Over the past 12 months, there has been rigorous comprehensive engineering planning studies, comprehensive traffic studies, economic studies, affordable housing research and study. There has been real estate impact studies. All these studies were performed concurrent with the formulation of the code that is before you. The code went through an evolution where there was input. The code ultimately that you see before you supported with what is referred to as expanded environmental assessment form and report. Yet the moratorium says the approval process does not represent the best practices to ensure a hard look is taken. If there is a legitimate reason to continue this moratorium, this would imply that Cameron Engineering failed to do a proper job. It would also imply that the entire town board at the time failed to do their due diligence. If this town board feels the need to vilify the governor to try to get affordable housing for New York residents, those involved in trying to do the same thing in Lawrence and Inwood should take the some credit for trying to do the same thing. And if you go to your village board meeting in Garden City, Mr. Clavin, and you ask a question to the town board, the village board, they answer your question. If you go there and you're disgruntled, they address you. They talk back to you. If you go to Floral Park, the same thing happens. People go up to the mic, no time clock at all, and the board responds to the questions. You don't do that here. Why? Why are you trying to hide something? You don't want to answer questions because you don't want to be accountable to your voters. That's why you don't answer questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Procacci. I don't have any other slips. With that, I'll say thank you all very. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Okay. Okay. It didn't come up there. It's no problem at all. So come on up there and give your name and address. It didn't come up there. Okay. Thanks, Ms. Jacobs.
You don't need the bail. Thank you, sis. I appreciate it. In 1988, Dorothy Gooseby filed a class action suit against the town of Hempstead, charging that the town at large voting system for the town board discriminated against the minority community. In 1997, a federal judge agreed and ruled that the town of Hempstead's method of voting at large was discriminatory and violated the Voting Rights Act. In January 2000, the United States Supreme Court denied review of the town of Hempstead's appeals. On February 14, 2023, Dorothy Gooseby voted yes to the town of Hempstead's discriminatory map. What a reversal of her morals from 1988. I would think that Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis, Rosa Parks, and many more of our departed civil rights leaders and the people of many races who marched with them rolled over in their graves when she voted yes to these maps.
Although her constituents joined residents across the town of Hempstead, attended countless town council meetings, and pushed to increase representation on the town board that would reflect the town's ever-growing diverse population and to keep minority communities whole, Ms. Gooseby refused to speak or comment on the redistricting process, even at the persistent request from her constituents who wanted to hear her thoughts. She did not speak, she did not value the concern of her constituents, and she voted yes to a discriminatory map that would further marginalize and disenfranchise thousands of minority residents. Again, what a significant reversal of Ms. Gooseby's moral compass. Ms. Gooseby, I have been to many events over the years where you spoke to children and told the story over and over again, the story of your lawsuit against the town of Hempstead citing discrimination against minority communities and for violating the Voting Rights Act. And future talks with the children, will you update your story to include your vote of yes to a discriminatory map in 2023 that will continue to marginalize and disenfranchise minority residents? An elected official is not required to love or even like his or her constituents, but he or she is required to hear the concerns of their constituents and to advocate in their best interests. When a politician gets caught up in the adulations, fanfare, and false accolades that frequently comes along with political office, one loses focus on as to why and how they got there in the first place. So goes the story of politics in America. Many of our elected officials just want to be stars. I forgive you, Ms. Gooseby, for discriminating against your constituents. I just hope that you can forgive yourself. And I have a question, two questions. When will the street sweeping schedule for minority communities be sent out to residents? And what happened to the monies that were allocated to Uniondale from former Congresswoman Rice's office for improvements to Front Street? I need those questions.
When it comes to the street sweeping schedule, we'll have to follow up. I know I was talking to the Highway Department. They're working on it. And I know that Commissioner Rodkamp's in back here. John, where are you? John, there you go. If you could follow up with those funds.
Well, I think we got our
and thank you very much. I know there are a couple of other residents that did not sign in and have not been heard on the administrative calendar. We'll start with you in the back. Thank you, ma'am.
Did you answer my second question? I didn't get an answer to my second question about the monies that Kathleen Rice allocated.
Listen, I said.
Maybe they got caught up in your
you know what? Listen, I told the commissioner to speak to you about those funds. And I did say that. And by the way, and I think the deputy supervisor of the township is an outstanding individual, a civil rights icon, and a heck of a great person. And you know what? And I said, so, that's nice, Ms. Jacobs. You know what? Thank you. Ma'am, if you can give your name and address for the record, thank you very much. If you can give your name and address for the record.
Hi, Eileen Osmers from Huntington Station. I spoke a little while ago about Emily, and so I'm not a town resident, and I don't work for the town, and so I don't have, you know, this anger that I hear a lot of people expressing, and I don't, you know, I'm not lashing out or attacking anyone, but I think it's really important, and I'm so happy I have a few more minutes now to express myself, but it's really sad to see what you guys did tonight to Emily. Sorry. But she's a human being, and I really would like to know how many of you would like it if you received a note telling you that you have to start a meaningless life next week, that you have to forget every single thing that you've worked your entire life for, your passion, everything you've been trained for, everything that is in your heart and soul, and that you have to forget it all to go push paper at some desk somewhere, because that's what you have done to Emily tonight. You did this to a human being. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not done. I'm going to take my 3 minutes, but I just think it's so sad and it's so sick because we're all adults and we're all aware. We all know that what happened here is so wrong. And the message that you're sending to the community is just so scary, that this can happen to a person who has been dedicated to the town, who has devoted her life to the town. No, and I don't believe that you don't care. I really honestly believe that something really bad and scary is motivating you. And it really has to be changed. And I got to tell you, as a person running a rescue organization, it's really important to be able to trust the people you're working with, and now I've lost all trust for the town of Hempstead. Thank you.
Thank you. I know I saw a couple other people who raised their hand who haven't been heard yet. If you haven't been heard, you'd like to come up to the mic. Name and address for the record. Thank you.
Melissa Jaffe, Merrick, New York. I just have a question, which I hope that you can be kind enough to answer this one. At the last evening meeting, my fellow Moroccans asked about a gate being put back up on John Street. And you were so kind, and you had somebody from the Parks Department go and speak to them. How or what kind of questions do you have to ask to have somebody come and speak to you at a meeting? You can't answer that one either?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay. I am here today to speak of the injustices that are occurring at TOHAS. I am not here to benefit myself in any way. I am not interested in a job in any facet. I am here to let us overcome the evil with good. You allowed Christy Fonte to be pushed out. You can put any spin on it, but she was forced out. Would you allow a family member to be treated this way? I am sure not. You all seem to yes each other to death. But to us, the people, the taxpayers, you just say, I'll look into it. Well, I am personally still waiting to hear back from Charles Malone, Carol in Charles Clavin's office, and Clavin himself. You are supposed to be serving us, the people. Well, I myself and many others sitting here and the people watching live do not feel served. I remember Senator Fischillo helping me. I remember County Executive Bruce Blakeman helping. How will this board be remembered? Do you even care? You're allowing yourselves to be bullied. Because why? You are now moving Emily Dorenz to a completely different department. Who will be next? Dr. Siegel is who we hear is on the hit parade. Christy Fonte is Jewish. In the Jewish religion, she is Jewish because her mother is Jewish, and you always know who the mother is. No respect to Mr. Fonte, but Emily Dorenz is Jewish and Dr. Siegel is Jewish. Are you ridding yourselves of all the Jewish employees? Because if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. There are no black supervisors. It seems as all the black employees are now on the night shift, except for Ben Minto, who I know had to be forced into getting a promotion. You speak with a person who makes anti-Semitic comments. I think the board better look into this and what they are doing. Is there an RFP out for the director? I know you do not answer questions, but I can't seem to get a meeting to find out where and how all our taxpayers' tax dollars are being spent. What's actually happening here? Again, no response. What has Charlie Malone accomplished? I am entitled to know why he is being paid $50 an hour as a liaison, but he has done nothing. He hasn't gotten back to one volunteer. He's actually walked away from Ellen Fischillo and myself last Thursday. I wanted to introduce them, and he actually walked into Ashley's office. That's the liaison that you hired. A little bit embarrassing, isn't it? I'm like besides myself. I mean, I don't know what, we all spoke here about Emily. We fought for Christy. You now have Ashley running the show who doesn't have a college degree.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who hasn't been heard that want to speak? Sure. No.
Don, can I speak for a moment?
I know that's Terry Kahutka. If Terry, if you're there, if She can concede. Thank you very much.
We hit an all-time low at this moment.
Terry, if you just identify yourself.
My name is Teresa Kohutka. I'm president of CSEA Local 880, members of the Town of Hempstead employees. As from day one, of course, I am against the volunteers. I would rather see full-time employees helping the animals. And I'm sure my point has been made tonight. Volunteers understood over the last agreement with the town attorney were to be coming in, helping the shelter, helping the animals, and leaving. Not looking around at what the employees are doing, what's going on over here, what's going on there. They're supposed to volunteer and go home. I warned you about this. I'm going to push to have them removed, just so you know. Or down to this many, and maybe we should interview some new ones. Because when you start with the anti-Semitic and the anti-black comments, now I have a problem. And that's all they're doing, is creating drama, clicks for a bunch of adult women, and causing problems at the shelter for my members. I do get close. No, shut up.
No, ma'am, Terry. Whoa, Terry.
See what I mean, Don? This is what we're letting in around my members. I don't need this.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Good evening. If you give your name and address for the record. Thank you. Please, ma'am, please, there's somebody at the mic. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address.
My name is Phyllis Federici, and I am a resident of the town of Hempstead.
Okay.
I am also a volunteer that this woman is speaking about, okay? She is so off the mark. None of us want to work at the shelter. None of us want to take jobs from anyone who is working at the shelter. Whoever she is getting her information from, it is so wrong. We are there every day, 2, 3, 4 hours a day. Of course, goodbye, sweetheart, goodbye. Goodbye. Tell it walking. You think you got a mouth? You haven't met a mouth.
If you're not going to address the town board, you're not going to speak. That's what
Well, I am going to speak, but I'm not going to have somebody yelling at me in the doorway. I'm sorry. Okay? None of us, Mr. Clavin, want to take anyone's jobs. She is so far off the mark. As I was saying, we are there 2, 3, 4 hours a day for free, and we take care of the animals. Of course we're going to see what's going on. What are we supposed to walk around with blinders on? This woman is trouble, okay? Tell her to stay with her union members who they don't seem to do anything for anyway, okay? Because we all asked Emily, what did your union rep say? She said nothing. There's nothing he could do about it. He told me I got to move. So you know what? Between the union, between you and the board, this woman didn't have a chance from the beginning. And let me tell you something. I am a retired person. I was professional my whole entire life. I got involved with this shelter, and all of a sudden I became a crazy person. It's insane what goes on there. It really is. You guys sit there, you do absolutely nothing. You do nothing. So you know what? This probably will be the last time that I am going to address this board. And you know why? Because I hope you all lose in November. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that hasn't been heard that'd like to? If not, have a great evening. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. Please. You haven't been heard yet? Okay. You're going to go? Okay. Your name and address for the record. Thanks.
Francesca Serra, Huntington, New York. This place is a cesspool. I just wanted to present you with the petition that was started after Christy Fonte was driven out of her position as shelter trainer by this administration. It now has over 5,000 signatures. I also wanted to read from several FOIL documents that I think are relevant to what's been occurring at the shelter these past few months. These are euthanasia records from 2009. Couldn't remove collar, skittish. Dog is unpredictable. I don't trust this dog for adoption. Discussed dog with Madden. We both agree dog is not adoptable. Okay to euthanize. No aggression towards dogs, has aggression towards cats. Obeys commands, knows to sit and give paw. Sweet, friendly dog, marked territory and room, strong and confident. Don't trust this dog, looks like a yard dog. Doesn't appear to be adoptable. Myself and Madden agree that this dog cannot be trusted and we feel not adoptable. Okay to euthanize. Dog seems like a yard dog crapping in cage. Dog dirties in his water bowl. Myself and Madden feel we cannot promote an adoption of this dog. Okay to euthanize. Okay. Friendly and calm. Myself and Madden have seen that this dog defecates and lies right next to it. Dog is elderly, difficulty walking, and obviously not housebroken. Myself and Madden feel we wouldn't be able to adopt this dog out. Okay to euthanize. These records are all from 2009. I wonder who was the shelter director then? Any guesses? These are just a few of the hundreds of euthanasia records with the name Madden all over them. A woman who, according to her own 2016 lawsuit against the town, I quote, does not hold any degrees or certifications in the care, control, custody, or medical treatment of domesticated animals. You may think bringing the shelter back to 2009 is positive change and progress, but the people, your constituents, wholeheartedly disagree. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. All right. That's it.
Karina Weiss, Hicksville. I was not planning on talking again, but I'm just shocked with the behavior of someone holding her position. The person that just left this building, yelling and actually trying to get aggressive with my co-volunteer, Francesca here, that is shocking to me. I'm heartbroken tonight, not just because I voted for you, Mr. Clavin, and I'm paying the price for being a stupid person and believing in what you said, but I'm heartbroken for having Francesca to come up here, getting threatened by a very unbalanced, unstable person that works for this town, and I'm heartbroken that she had to read through those foils. We are there. Some of us are volunteering for 2, 10, 15 years. We've seen it all. This is really bad. And I get it. I get the idea that you guys are not fans of us at all. I get it. But it's just that this is such a concerning moment. And you got to understand that this shelter, it's one of the largest in the country. Don't underestimate animal lovers. Don't underestimate volunteers. We will do whatever it takes to take care of these poor dogs and cats. And we will fight for the good people too. I feel really, really bad for Emily tonight. She has 3 little boys, and she also has 5 dogs at her home. How she does it, I don't know. She must be crazy. But she does it well, and she did it really, really, really an amazing job at the shelter. A lot of these dogs are now going to sit in those kennels because they are not going to have the connection that Emily has with all those groups. That, by the way, is going to cost more money for the town to keep them, to feed them, to clean the kennels. Everything comes with a price. For you, it might be just, okay, those annoying people from the animal shelter, they're probably not gonna bother me after the next election that I'm not going to win. So I don't have to see these people ever again, so what's the point? But like I said before, I still believe in the good in people, so do the right thing, please.
Thank you, Ms. Weiss. Anybody else who hasn't been heard? If not, have a wonderful evening. Thank you all very, very much.